I was born in a small village where life was very hard. My family didn't have much money, and we lived in a tiny house made of wood and metal sheets. When it rained, water came through the roof, and we had to put buckets on the floor. We didn't have a fridge, a TV, or even a proper bed. Most nights, we ate only rice with a little salt, but my mother always smiled and said, "One day, our life will change." I went to school every day, even though it was 5 kilometers away. I didn't have shoes, so I walked barefoot on the hot road with stones and dust. My school bag was old, with broken zippers, and I had only one pencil. But I loved learning, especially reading books. Books helped me escape from my poor world and imagine a better life. In books, I was rich, brave, and free. When I finished school, I wanted to go to college and learn more, but my parents had no money to pay for it. I was very sad and cried at night because my dream felt impossible. My mother hugged me and said, "You must work now and study later." So I got a job cleaning tables at a small cafe in the town. The job was not easy, but I was ready to do anything to help my family and save for my future. Every day after work, I went to the public library to study. I read books about business, money, and success because I wanted to start my own business one day. I also watched free videos online to learn new skills. Some nights, I only slept for 3 hours, but I didn't care. I was hungry, not for food, but for knowledge and a better life. I promised myself that I would not stay poor forever. One afternoon, I saw many workers waiting in line at a small food stall. They looked tired and hungry, and I thought, what if I bring food to them instead? That night, I went home and cooked a few simple meals. The next morning, I borrowed my cousin's old bicycle and delivered the food to the workers. 3 people bought my meals and said the food was tasty and cheap. That was the beginning of my food delivery idea. Every day, more people started calling me for food. I woke up early to cook and rode my bicycle to deliver lunch before going to my cafe job. In the evenings, I cooked again and delivered dinner to hungry workers. I saved all the money I earned, even the coins. My hands were tired, my feet were sore, but I felt proud. My small food delivery service was slowly growing, and people started to remember my name. One morning, my bicycle broke in the middle of the street. I had food to deliver, and I was late. I felt like everything was falling apart. Just then, my friend Raju came by and saw me. He gave me his old bicycle and said, "Use this one until you can buy a new one." Thanks to him, I delivered the food and saved my business. That day, I learned that help can come when you least expect it. Soon, I had too many orders for one person to handle. I asked a friend named Anil to help me with deliveries. I paid him from my savings and taught him how to talk to customers politely. Together, we worked faster and served more people. Customers liked our food and our service. They smiled when they saw us coming, and some even gave us tips. We were still small, but we were working like a team. One of our regular customers was a restaurant owner. He liked our food and said, "You work hard. I want to help you." He offered me a small kitchen space behind his restaurant, free of cost, in the evenings. I couldn't believe it. I now had a real kitchen with good equipment. We moved our cooking there, and the food became even better. This chance changed everything for me. With my savings, I decided to register my food business officially. I called it Good Eats because I wanted people to know they would get fresh and tasty meals. I made a simple logo and printed small flyers to share with people. I also created a social media page to show pictures of our food. Slowly, more people started to follow us and place orders. My dream was becoming real, step by step. As orders increased, I knew I couldn't do everything alone anymore. I hired 2 more people, one to help in the kitchen and another to help with deliveries. We worked long hours, from early morning until late at night. Sometimes we were so tired we fell asleep on the floor after cooking. But we were happy because we had work, and we were building something together. We weren't just workers, we were a small family with a big dream. Even though the business was growing, I still felt like I needed to learn more. I began reading books about marketing and customer service during my free time. I also watched videos that taught me how to run a business the smart way. Every time I learned something new, I tried it in my own business. For example, I learned how to ask for feedback and how to listen to what customers really wanted. These small things made a big difference in our sales. One day, a famous food blogger came to our small kitchen. He ordered a meal and asked me, "Did you really build all this by yourself?" I said yes and told him my story. He smiled and said, "This is amazing. I'm going to write about you." The next day, he posted about us online with photos of our food. Suddenly, we got hundreds of messages and phone calls from new customers. With so many new customers, our small kitchen became too crowded. We had to move fast, but we didn't have space to cook or store food. I searched the city and found a cheap old shop that nobody was using. It was dirty and dark, but I saw a chance. With my team, we cleaned it, painted the walls, and made it into a kitchen. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. After the blog post, a local TV station contacted me for an interview. I had never been on TV before, and I was very nervous. I borrowed a clean shirt and practiced speaking in front of the mirror. During the interview, I shared my story, from being poor to starting Good Eats. People loved it, and many new customers came just to support us. I started to feel that I was not just a cook, I was becoming someone people looked up to. When the TV interview aired, someone from my village saw it and told my parents. My mother called me, crying with happiness. She said, "I always believed in you, even when we had nothing." My father, who usually didn't say much, told me, "You are making us proud." Hearing those words made me feel rich inside. I remembered the nights we had only rice and salt, and now we had hope. As my business grew, I met other young people who were poor and looking for work. They reminded me of myself when I started, full of dreams but no money. I decided to give them jobs and teach them what I had learned. I told them, if I can do it, you can too. Some of them became very good cooks. One of them even started his own small food stall. One month, a new food company opened very close to us. They had more money, better packaging, and lower prices. Slowly, some of our customers stopped ordering from us. At first, I felt afraid. What if we failed after coming so far? But I remembered my promise, never give up. So I asked customers why they left, and I listened carefully. After listening to customers, I made big changes. We added new dishes, improved the taste, and made our food look better. We also started giving free home delivery for large orders. I thanked every customer who came back and asked for feedback again. In just a few weeks, our old customers returned, and they brought their friends too. Our small business became strong again. With the business doing well again, I started thinking bigger. I wanted to open a second kitchen in another part of the city. I met with people who were willing to invest a little money in my idea. They said, "We believe in you because you started with nothing and worked hard." I couldn't believe it. People now wanted to help me grow. My dream was no longer small. It was starting to fly. After weeks of planning, we finally opened our second kitchen in another busy part of the city. It was smaller than the first one, but very clean and full of energy. I trained a new team and told them everything I had learned from my journey. We used the same recipes, the same care, and the same love. Soon, people in that area also started ordering from Good Eats. We were no longer just a small local service. We were becoming a real food brand. One morning, I woke up and saw my photo in a big newspaper. The headline said, "From Poverty to Success, a Young Man's Journey." I felt shocked, happy, and nervous all at the same time. People at the market smiled at me and said, "We saw you in the paper." Some customers came just to shake my hand and say they were proud of me. It felt strange, but also very beautiful. After the newspaper story, a college invited me to speak to their students. At first, I didn't know what to say. I had never spoken to a big group before. But then I remembered my own story and how I started with nothing. I told the students, even if you are poor, your dreams are not. Many of them clapped, and some even came to thank me afterward. That day, I realized I could inspire others with my journey. With the money I was earning, the first thing I did was help my family. I repaired our old village house, added a new roof, and bought my parents a proper bed. I sent my younger brother to college and told him, "Follow your dreams. I will pay." My mother no longer had to work in the fields, and my father smiled more than ever. Helping them felt better than any money or fame. It was like fixing my past with the hands of my future. Even with success, I never stopped learning. I read business books, listened to smart people, and asked a lot of questions. I knew that many businesses fail when the owner stops learning and growing. Every week, I sat with my team and asked, "What can we do better?" Sometimes, the best ideas came from the quietest people in the room. I understood that listening was a kind of gold, too. One evening, I got a message from a rich businessman who had tried our food. He asked to meet me and said, "Your story and food impressed me." At the meeting, he offered to invest money to open 5 more kitchens. I couldn't believe it. I had never even seen that much money before. We signed an agreement, and my business started to grow faster than ever. I thanked him and promised to make him proud. With the new money, I opened 5 more kitchens in different parts of the city. Each kitchen had its own manager, delivery team, and cook. I traveled between them, helped solve problems, and made sure the food stayed great. Customers were happy, and many people said, "Good Eats is everywhere now." It felt like I was building a dream city with food, hard work, and heart. I couldn't stop smiling. One night, I got a phone call from the city mayor's office. They said I had been chosen for a Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. At the award ceremony, they gave me a trophy and asked me to say a few words. I looked at the crowd and said, "I started with nothing but a dream and hard work." The crowd clapped loudly, and I saw tears in my mother's eyes. That trophy was not just mine. It belonged to everyone who helped me. After the award, people in the city began to recognize me more. They would stop me in the street and say, "You're the guy from Good Eats, right?" Some young people even came to ask for advice. I was happy to talk to them and share my journey. I always told them, if I did it, you can do it too, but don't forget to work hard and stay kind. It felt good to be seen, not for being rich, but for never giving up. One night, I sat alone in my office and thought about the future. I didn't just want to sell food, I wanted to build a brand that helped people. I dreamed of opening a food school for poor youth and teaching them cooking, business, and confidence. I wanted to give them what I never had, a strong start. That night, I wrote my new goal on a piece of paper and pinned it to the wall. It said, "Change lives through food and love." After thinking for many months, I finally opened my own food training center. I called it Hope Kitchen, and it was free for poor and struggling young people. We taught them how to cook, how to run a business, and how to believe in themselves. At first, only 5 students came, but soon more joined. One boy told me, "I never thought I could do something good with my life until now." That made me more proud than all the money I had earned. After 3 months of training, some of our students opened their own food stalls. They sent me pictures of their first customers and first earnings. One girl said, "Thanks to you, I now help feed my whole family." Another student named Ali sent me a message, "You changed my life, sir." Every time I heard these things, my heart felt full. I knew I had found my true purpose, not just getting rich, but lifting others too. Because of my work, a business group invited me to speak in another country. I had never been on a plane before, and I felt scared but excited. When I arrived, I saw people from many countries, all sharing their ideas. I told them my story and said, "Even the smallest seed can grow into a tree with care." They clapped and asked questions. It was the first time I realized that my voice had power beyond my own city. A friend told me, "Your story is amazing. You should write a book." I had never written a book before, but I decided to try. Every night after work, I sat and wrote about my journey, about hunger, struggle, hope, and success. It took me 6 months to finish it. When the book was published, people sent me messages saying they cried while reading it. One man wrote, "I was going to give up, but your book gave me courage." More and more people wanted to eat from Good Eats. We started selling food in supermarkets and even made ready-to-eat packs for busy workers. Our name became known across the country. I saw our logo on buses, billboards, and TV ads. I couldn't believe it. Just a few years ago, I was too poor to buy shoes. Now, people saw my business as a symbol of hope and hard work. Even with all the fame and money, I didn't forget where I came from. I still visited my old neighborhood and gave food to hungry families. I told my staff, "We are not better than anyone. We are just lucky and hardworking." I taught my team to treat all customers with respect, no matter who they were. I still ate simple food and wore simple clothes. Because in my heart, I was still the same boy who started with one bicycle and one dream. One day, a big problem came. There was a food safety issue with one of our kitchens. Some customers got sick, and the news spread quickly. People began to question our company. I felt terrible, but I didn't hide. I went on social media and said, "I am sorry. We are fixing it now." We closed that kitchen, cleaned everything, and followed every safety rule. Slowly, people trusted us again. That experience taught me a big lesson. Success needs honesty and responsibility. I told my managers, if we make a mistake, we fix it fast and stay honest. We started better training, more checks, and daily reports. Customers saw the changes and came back. Some even said, "We trust you more now because you were honest." Mistakes hurt, but they can make us better if we learn from them. A famous TV host invited me to share my story on her national show. Millions of people watched it, and my phone didn't stop ringing for days. She asked, "What is your secret?" I said, "I never gave up. I kept moving, even when I had no money, no support, and no idea what would happen."
She smiled and said, "You're not just a businessman, you are an inspiration." I felt proud, not for myself, but for everyone who started small like me. Now I am rich and many people know my name. But my biggest joy comes from helping others and sharing my story. I always tell people, you don't need a lot to start. Just one strong reason is enough. I believe that every poor person has a rich future inside them. You just have to believe, work hard, and never stop moving forward. That is how I turned my struggle into success, and so can you. After my story became well known, many schools and youth centers invited me to speak. They asked if I could guide young people who had big dreams but little hope. I said yes, and I began meeting with small groups every weekend. We talked about life, business, mistakes, and how to stay strong. One boy told me, "When you talk, I feel like my life can be great too." That made all my hard days worth it.
I remembered how hard it was when I couldn't even afford a pencil. So I decided to create a small scholarship fund for students from poor families. It wasn't big at first, but it helped 10 students go to college that year. They wrote letters to me saying thank you and promising to work hard. I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because I had once needed that help too. Now I was in a place where I could give it. For years, I lived in small rented rooms and worked long hours. But now I finally had enough money to buy my own house. It wasn't huge, but it had a beautiful kitchen and a small garden. When I brought my parents to see it, my mother cried and said, "You did it." I smiled and said, "This is just the beginning." We ate dinner together in that house, and it felt like a dream come true. One day, a famous magazine called and said they wanted me on their cover. They said, "You are one of the most inspiring business people of the year." I laughed a little, remembering the days I couldn't even afford to buy magazines. But I agreed, and when the cover came out, I bought a copy for everyone in my family. It felt strange to see my face in shops, but I was proud of the journey behind that smile. It was not just a photo, it was a story of hope. As I traveled and spoke at events, I met many amazing people. Some were business leaders, some were teachers, and some were just kind strangers. I learned from them, listened to their stories, and felt even more inspired. One woman told me, "Helping others is the highest form of success." That sentence stayed with me and became part of my own belief. Even now, I try to pass that message to everyone I meet. With success came many new problems, big decisions, hard choices, and pressure. There were days I felt tired, confused, and even scared. Sometimes I asked myself, am I doing enough? Am I doing the right thing? But then I remembered the boy I used to be, the one with nothing but hope. That memory gave me strength and helped me move forward again. I learned that success is not easy, but it's always worth the fight. In the beginning, I worked alone, but now I had a big team. They worked hard, laughed with me, and supported the dream. I made sure to treat them with respect and kindness. We celebrated birthdays, small wins, and even learned from mistakes together. One worker once said, "I feel like this is more than a job, it's a family." That meant more to me than any number in a bank account. For years, we had delivery kitchens, but now I wanted something more. So I opened my first sit-down restaurant where people could come, eat, and enjoy. It was full of color, good smells, and warm smiles. People loved it, and some said, "This place feels like home." I put a big photo on the wall of my first bicycle and called it "Where It All Began." It reminded me, and everyone, how small starts can lead to big dreams. Many small business owners came to me asking for help. Some needed advice, others needed money or just encouragement. Whenever I could, I supported them, shared tips, or gave small loans. One tea seller I helped now owns 2 shops. He calls me Bhai, which means brother, and always says, "You lifted me." That's what I wanted, to not just grow alone, but help others rise too. One evening, I sat alone on the restaurant terrace and watched the city lights. I remembered my old life, the hunger, the cold, the fear, the lonely nights. Then I looked at what I had built, a business, a team, a family, a life. Tears came to my eyes, but they were happy tears. I whispered thank you to the sky, to life, to all the people who helped me. Because every step, even the hard ones, brought me to this beautiful place. I started visiting schools in poor areas to talk to students. I told them I was just like you, no money, no support, just a big dream. They listened closely, eyes wide, as I shared my journey. I said, "Your situation today doesn't decide your future." After each talk, children came to hug me, saying, "One day I'll be like you." That gave me hope that the future would be even brighter. One day, I got a letter from the mayor's office. They wanted to give me an award for helping the community. At the ceremony, the mayor said, "This man didn't just build a business, he built people." I stood on the stage with tears in my eyes and a smile on my face. I held the award and thought of all the people who had helped me. It wasn't just my success, it was ours. A few months later, I was invited to speak at a global conference. People from more than 30 countries came to listen. When I walked onto the stage, I took a deep breath and smiled. I told them, success is not about where you start. It's about what you believe. After my talk, people came up to me and said, "Your story touched my heart." I realized that one story could change many lives. At night, I often sat and thought about how far I had come. I used to sleep on the floor with an empty stomach. Now I had employees, shops, awards, and most of all, peace. But more than that, I had a reason to wake up every day. I had become a person who could help others dream. And that, I believe, is the real meaning of success. Even with money, comfort, and fame, I never forgot where I started. Sometimes I still visit the small tea shop where I worked years ago. The owner always smiles and says, "You haven't changed." And I smile back and reply, "That's the goal, to grow but not forget." I still eat simple food and speak kindly to everyone. Because respect, not money, makes you truly rich. Every new stage in life brings new problems. There were days when a new branch failed or when sales dropped. Some days I felt lost again, like in the beginning. But I always reminded myself, you got through worse. You can do this too. So I stood back up, made new plans, and moved forward again. That's how I kept growing, step by step, never giving up. My success changed my family's life as well. I helped my siblings start small businesses of their own. I taught them how to manage money and treat people kindly. Now they too are doing well, building their own dreams. My father once told me, "I'm proud not just of your success, but of your heart." That meant more to me than any business deal. A film director heard my story and wanted to make a movie. I agreed, but only if it showed the truth, both the pain and the hope. The movie came out, and many people cried while watching it. One girl wrote to me, "I saw myself in your story. Now I believe I can succeed too." That was the power of sharing, and I felt proud that my life had meaning for others. It was not just a movie, it was a message. Even after all I had achieved, I didn't stop dreaming. I started working on opening schools and training centers in more cities. I wanted every poor child to believe they could do something great. Each time I saw a student smile with new hope, I felt my heart grow. Because real success is when you help others believe in themselves. And I plan to keep doing that as long as I lived. Now, when I look back at my journey, I smile with peace. I started with nothing, just a hungry boy with a dream and a bicycle. I faced pain, failure, fear, and many long nights. But I never gave up. I believed, I worked, and I learned. And today, I say to you, no matter where you are, don't stop believing. Your story is still being written, and it can become something beautiful too.